they wanted to sell me 5 mortgage notes, but I was so afraid of mortgage notes because I had never purchased one that I decided I wanted to instead buy just 3 mortgage notes, and I bought 2 REOs that they had foreclosed on. An REO is real estate owned that the
Correct.
banks foreclosed on. And so I said, you guys throw in those 2 REOs, because my thinking was very simply this, Asha, that if I lost money on the notes, I said, I know I'll make money on the real estate because I know real estate. And so I was trying to hedge my bet. But at the end of the day, what actually happened was I broke even on one of the pieces of real estate. I lost money on one of the pieces of real estate. That was my first time ever losing money on anything. And I made money within just about 60 days or so, about almost 90 days. I made about $40,000 profit on those 3 notes. And I said, oh my goodness.
I'm on to something.
Yeah. Yeah. And by the way, one of those houses took me almost 2 years to get out of it, and that's why I lost money on it. I finally just sold it to my realtor and said, look, just make me an offer. And she said, you'll never take it. I said, just trust me, make me an offer. She made me an offer and I just sold it and took the hit. But at the end of the day, I found that I can own the mortgage on a person's home. And that's a much better position to be in as an investor because I have freedom. I don't have to deal with tenants. I don't have to deal with taxes or any of that. But yet I get cash flow from that real estate. And if the cash flow for some reason slows down, I have legal remedies. And that's what I do now.
Wonderful. So maybe we can segue into if someone doesn't know anything about it and wants to start, what are some of the things they can do to find these? Or maybe you can start with explaining in detail what a mortgage note is and how that process works.
Okay. Yeah, that's an excellent question. And I think a good way to kind of set this up. Here's what I'd like for you guys to know. A mortgage note it's a promissory note, and it's basically an IOU. And if you buy a piece of real estate, let's say you're buying a house or a condo or something, and you're not paying cash, that means that you need to borrow money from some institution. Most of the time we'll go to a bank or a mortgage company. We borrow the money to buy the property. When you buy that property and you borrow the money, they're going to have you sign 2 documents. One of them is called a promissory note, which
Correct.
is the IOU, where you agree to pay them back over the next 30 years, right? I'll pay you $1,000 a month for 30 years or whatever. But the other document they're going to have you sign is called a mortgage. The mortgage is your pledge to the bank that if you don't pay them back, they can take your condo. That's what that means. That's all basically a mortgage says. Hey, if I don't pay you, you can take my stuff. And so when I say that I invest in notes, yes, I buy the promissory note, but I never buy the promissory note without the mortgage too. It's a package.
Correct.
And therefore, if someone doesn't pay me, then I have the very same rights that Bank of America has. If they don't pay me, I can hire an attorney to enforce my rights. I can do other things too, though. I don't like to go to foreclosure. I very rarely do. Most of the time, I work it out with the homeowner if they stop paying. I just call them up and say, hey, what's going on? It's usually there's something going on. If they've been paying, then all of a sudden they stop. And since I'm not Bank of America, I don't have to go to some loan committee to make a decision. I can listen to the story. And if I am in alignment with it and I can see a light at the end of the tunnel, I can literally make the decision right there. I am your lender, and here's what we're going to do. And I can just lay it out for them, which is really nice, by the way. I get so many people that thank me so much, which is another gratifying thing,
Right. So you basically act like the bank.
I am the bank.
Great.
Yeah. Okay. So how when you purchase a home, if you financed it, it's not unusual to get a letter from the lender saying, we've transferred your loan to another lender. And moving forward, you should pay that guy. Right?
Yes.
That means your note has been sold. You had nothing to do with it.
Investor.
Yes. You don't know who they are. You have no rights in that scenario, but it's been sold. It could be me.
Right.
And you just keep making your payments. That's the way that it works.
Right. Now, some of our listeners may be wondering, they're probably getting excited listening to this. I want to do that, but they may only have $5,000. Are there any financial barriers to mortgage note investing, or do you need a lot of money to do it?
Yeah, that's a huge question. And the short answer is, yeah, you're going to need some cash. But if people live on the coast, they think that everyone in America has a $300,000 mortgage, when it's just not the case. You know, a lot of Americans have mortgages under 100,000. So if a person has a retirement account or something like an IRA, because you can self-direct your IRA.
Self-directed IRAs,
Yeah,
yes.
sure. They can invest that into a mortgage note or something like that. And I buy mortgage. We sold one recently for only, there was a $20,000 balance on the mortgage note, because eventually mortgages pay it down, right? And they pay off.
Yes.
And so you can find them from 5,000 to millions of dollars. But if all you've got is $1,000 or something like that, and even with people who only have 5,000, I tell them, keep that as reserves rather than trying to invest that into the notes. And what I teach people is that if you're willing to put in the work to find the notes and to vet the notes, to do the due diligence, there are investors that will fund those deals for you. So you don't necessarily need money, but you need to bring something of value to the table. And a lot of these investors that are very wealthy that like to invest in notes don't want to invest the time to do the work and find the note and vet the note and make sure it's a good note and, you know, work with the real estate agents and the title companies. They don't want to do that work. And so if a person doesn't have a lot of cash, my advice to them is take your cash, keep it as reserves, because you'll sleep better at night, and start putting something up here, Aisha. This is where it starts, right here. You start putting something into your brain. And once you understand this stuff, that's when the world opens up for you.
Yeah. So there is an alternative out there working with a private investor that will, as long as you do the work, just like with real estate investing.
Yes, like real estate. Yes.
So that's good to know. Now, you brought up two questions for me. Where the first one is, where does one find mortgage notes? How do we find them? And then I'll ask the second question after we answer this one.
Okay. What's interesting is that I've seen the development of more and more sources for notes since I got started in 2013. In 2013, we were just coming out of the recession, right? The Great Recession.
Correct.
And if you wanted to buy notes, pretty much you had to go to a hedge fund, like I did with my first trade, right? You go to a hedge fund and they wouldn't sell you one note. You'd have to buy a small pool. That's why I had to purchase, they required me to buy 5 assets. They call them assets.
Okay.
Each note is an asset. So they required me to buy 5 assets. They wanted me to buy 5 notes. I said, I'll take 3 notes and 2 houses. They were okay with that. But today, there are websites. For example, there's a website called Paper Stack, Paperstac.